Welcome to World Prism. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. In April 2025, President Donald Trump reignited a simmering trade conflict with Canada, sending shockwaves through both countries' economies and political landscapes. The announcement came unexpectedly, catching many off guard and immediately dominating headlines across North America. Trump declared aggressive new tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum, targeting two of Canada's most vital export industries. The move threatened to disrupt supply chains that had been carefully built over decades, impacting manufacturers, workers, and consumers on both sides of the border. In a bold and controversial step, he invoked the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, an act typically reserved for adversarial or hostile nations. This signaled a dramatic escalation in the America First agenda and marked a new, more confrontational phase in U.S.-Canada relations. The administration justified the move by pointing to the ballooning U.S. trade deficit, arguing that American industries were being undercut by cheaper imports. Officials claimed that these tariffs were necessary to protect American jobs and restore balance to the trading relationship. But the justification didn't stop there. In a controversial twist, the White House linked the tariffs to the ongoing fight against fentanyl smuggling across the northern border, suggesting that economic pressure might force Canada to do more to stem the flow of illegal drugs. This wasn't an isolated threat. It followed months of protectionist signals from the administration, including repeated warnings about unfair trade practices and hints at further economic measures. The new tariffs left Canada facing the very real prospect of devastating auto tariffs, which could cripple its automotive sector and send shockwaves through the North American economy. The decision baffled many experts and business leaders, given the deep economic ties between the two countries. The US and Canada had long enjoyed a close partnership, with integrated industries and shared prosperity. The two nations share the world's longest undefended border, a symbol of trust and cooperation that now seemed at risk. For millions of Americans, Canadian trade isn't just an abstract policy issue, it's a daily reality that supports jobs, small businesses, and entire communities, especially in border states. Trump's declaration forced the country to ask a difficult question. Was a trade war with Canada truly worth the economic pain and uncertainty it would bring? The debate raged in living rooms, boardrooms, and on cable news. As the first effects rippled through the economy, the answer, as events would soon show, was a resounding no. Businesses struggled, jobs were lost, and communities braced for more hardship. The stage was set for a fierce political and economic backlash, as Americans and Canadians alike prepared to push back against a new front in the trade war. Capitol Hill responded swiftly, and in a rare display of unity, lawmakers from both parties came together to address the president's controversial move. The atmosphere was tense, but there was a sense of urgency and purpose as members of Congress gathered to debate the issue. The Senate passed a resolution to terminate the president's emergency declaration, directly challenging his authority on trade. The vote was not just a procedural step. It was a clear signal that Congress was willing to assert its constitutional powers, even against the executive branch. Every Democrat, along with 4 key Republicans, including Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, joined forces. Their collaboration turned the vote into a rare, bipartisan condemnation, highlighting the depth of concern on both sides of the aisle. The resolution, though ultimately symbolic, sent a powerful message to the White House and the nation. Congress would not grant the president unchecked power to disrupt trade with America's closest allies. Lawmakers made their stance clear in press conferences and statements to the media. President Trump, visibly frustrated by the rebuke, lashed out at dissenters on social media. His tweets criticized both Democrats and Republicans who opposed him, deepening the rift within his own party and fueling further debate across the country. The Senate's action underscored that support for free trade with Canada remained strong, even under intense political pressure. Lawmakers emphasized the importance of maintaining strong economic ties with America's neighbors, especially in times of uncertainty. The political consensus against the tariffs was growing, as more voices from both parties spoke out in favor of protecting established trade relationships and preventing economic fallout. The White House now faced opposition from both sides of the aisle, signaling a new phase in the ongoing debate over trade policy and presidential power. Republican leaders didn't hold back in their criticism. Mitch McConnell called the tariffs bad policy, a direct tax on working Americans and a strategic blunder against a close ally. Senator Rand Paul argued the tariffs were unconstitutional, overstepping presidential authority and undermining free markets. Senators Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski warned of immediate harm to industries in their states and challenged the administration's fentanyl justification. Other Republicans echoed these concerns, highlighting the damage to farmers and manufacturers. The chorus of dissent made clear the president's trade war would not have full party support. The GOP's internal divide was now public and impossible to ignore. The administration was increasingly isolated. The markets reacted instantly to the tariff announcement. Stocks plunged, billions were wiped out in a matter of hours, and the sense of panic was palpable on trading floors across the country. Investors scrambled to make sense of the chaos, while fears of a global slowdown surged, sending shockwaves through financial centers worldwide. The economic pain wasn't abstract. Families and small businesses felt the impact almost immediately. Former Vice President Mike Pence warned the tariffs could cost American families an extra $3,500 a year, a staggering sum for many households already struggling to keep up. Tariffs, he argued, are paid by U.S. consumers, not foreign exporters, a point echoed by economists and business leaders alike. With inflation already high and the cost of living rising, new duties threatened to push household budgets to the breaking point, forcing families to make tough choices about what they could afford. Business groups and economic advisors sounded the alarm, warning that the ripple effects would be felt far beyond Wall Street. They cautioned that disrupted supply chains could lead to shortages, factory slowdowns, and job losses in key industries. Prices began to climb on everything from cars to groceries, making everyday essentials more expensive for millions of Americans. The backlash was swift and severe, as public frustration mounted and political pressure intensified. Protests erupted outside the White House, and business leaders demanded immediate action, forcing the administration to reconsider its approach. Within days, President Trump granted a 30-day reprieve for automakers, hoping to ease tensions and buy time for negotiations. The administration also expanded exemptions for Canadian and Mexican goods, acknowledging the interconnectedness of North American trade. The administration's hardline approach had proven economically untenable, as the costs quickly outweighed any perceived benefits. The rapid policy reversal was a tacit admission of miscalculation, revealing the limits of economic brinkmanship. The cost of protectionism was now painfully clear, leaving families, businesses, and policymakers to grapple with the consequences. Democrats stood united against the tariffs, calling them reckless and unconstitutional. Senator Tim Kaine called the move a national sales tax on American families, rejecting the fentanyl narrative as a distraction. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer criticized the administration's erratic trade policy, highlighting the inconsistency of targeting allies while sparing rivals. The business community joined the opposition, warning that tariffs would disrupt supply chains and make U.S. companies less competitive. Their lobbying campaign intensified the pressure on the White House. The coalition of Democrats, key Republicans, and business leaders forced the administration to backtrack. The broad consensus for stable trade with Canada prevailed. The episode was a rare victory for bipartisan cooperation and economic pragmatism. As the U.S. wrestled with political turmoil, Canada quietly strengthened its global reputation. Under Prime Minister Mark Carney, Canada responded to U.S. tariffs with calm diplomacy and targeted countermeasures. Carney's economic expertise and steady leadership contrasted sharply with Washington's volatility. Global investors and partners began to see Canada as a beacon of stability and reliability. While the U.S. turned inward, Canada expanded trade ties with Europe and Asia, attracting new investment. The Carney government's measured approach earned respect and tangible economic benefits. Businesses seeking to de-risk supply chains increasingly looked north. Canada's credibility and predictability became its greatest assets. The country's quiet rise was reshaping the North American economic landscape. The trade dispute cast the U.S. and Canada in starkly different lights. America's unpredictability and willingness to disrupt alliances damaged its global standing. Canada, by contrast, emerged as the dependable partner, valuing alliances, respecting trade laws, and acting with maturity. For Americans, the tariffs meant higher prices and economic anxiety. For Canadians, stability attracted investment and growth. The reputational shift had real consequences. Companies favored Canada for new ventures, while the U.S. faced uncertainty and lost trust. The tale of two neighbors became a lesson in the value of national reputation. As the U.S. grappled with self-inflicted wounds, Canada quietly built a foundation for long-term prosperity. The world was watching and taking note.